As Sun Devil men's basketball head coach Bobby Hurley is joining us. Thank you for the time, Coach. Before we open up to questions, a reminder to use the raise hand function or message me directly to indicate you have a question. And please remain muted for the duration of the call unless you're called upon. If you haven't already, send me a message if you want recording access. I'll let everyone get set up here, and then we'll start it off. Go ahead, start us off, Chris.
Hey, Bobby.
Hey, Chris.
Saw your comment or heard your comments on the radio about DJ and feeling good about kind of the conversations in the last couple of days. Wanted to ask about, you're so passionate, obviously, and you're competitive. Do you think that your nature in that way has an emotional component to it with player interactions that maybe contributes to some of that stuff?
It was, we were all in a heated moment, and it was, after following the loss versus Washington, the way we did, I think DJ played 17 minutes and not his normal role. And, he struggled for about 2.5 games now. So I think that is a contributing factor to it. He has certain standards of his performance. You couple that with a few games losing, not playing up to your standards, and then you're going to get emotional, and he lost his cool after the game. And so it was, a situation we handled the best way we can. And we needed to do what we did. So the action we took was appropriate. And then DJ and I have been fine since. We met twice, since we got back here to Arizona and talked about a lot of things. So I anticipate there being no other issues moving forward with DJ.
And just to follow up on that, I know you're instinctually handling these things on a case-by-case basis, right? But how challenging can that be at times? Because you're trying to motivate and encourage and all of that, but also keep guys on a an even keel.
Yeah, it's a part of our job. It's I'm an old school guy. I was coached very hard and stuff, and I've changed my coaching style. I'm not nowhere near as demanding and in terms of verbally talking to players like I was 10 years ago in Buffalo. It's a different age, and you have to adjust and adapt with how you communicate with your players. And for the most part, I think we have a very healthy environment with how we coach the guys, and I think the guys enjoy being in the program.
Thank
Michelle?
you. I kind of want to follow up on that a little bit, Bobby. We saw, at least TV, since we weren't there, some players were kind of, I don't want to say arguing is the word, but you could definitely sense the frustration players had on the court. So is that more a nature of, like you said, of not playing up to the standard guys are used to, as opposed to a team chemistry issue?
Yeah, when you go through a stretch like this, it's going to challenge you, and certainly if you're not having some frustration and you're not saying some tough things to your teammates, and you're just accepting failure and defeat, then then why are we in this business? Like, these kids should be aggravated, they should be frustrated, they should be able to communicate with each other, and sometimes not the most nicest way, because the world we live in is hyper stressful. There's a lot on the line for all these kids personally and collectively, and we've done too much already this year to see that go up in flames. So I'm happy that there was some conflict, and there is conflict, because that shows me that people care.
Hode?
So, Bobby, did you feel that your approach this week in practices was similar to the approach last week when you had back-to-back losses to LA schools, now with 4 losses in a row? Do you feel that there's maybe, I don't know if going back to the basics is, one term, or maybe just putting more emphasis on the mental side to avoid breakdowns during games?
Yeah, in its simplest form, we're not defending again, and we could talk about the offense too, because we didn't make shots at Washington, and we shot 29% and still got to overtime somehow, with all that going on. But we Washington State, we just didn't guard the 3-point line again, and and they're very good at it. They make 9 a game, but they made 14. So if we're an above average defense, we should hold them to at least their number or less, instead of allowing that many more threes made. So we watched all those examples. I think we did a little more film study and trying to notice and understand why guys are getting cleaner looks, and just, focus on our defense. And I'm not going to go into all the details that we discussed and shared, because that's kind of internal about what we need to fix and how we need to fix it. And then the other thing is, we have to stop getting behind in games, because we have to scramble and exert a lot of energy, pressing and trapping and running around, and we're not getting matched up right because we're digging a hole for ourselves. So hopefully getting off to a better start will help us just being able to sit down and guard somebody in the half court without having to run around and trap the whole game.
Jake?
Hey, Bobby. Bobby, you kind of talked about some of those feelings, the aggravation, the frustration, but how do you take those emotions and turn it into a positive outcome and eventually kind of snap this 4-game losing streak?
Well, you have to get off, you have to get up off the mat. It's, we live in a world of great highs and low lows, and there's, we're not the only program in the country that might have, gotten off to a great start, a fantastic start, and then hits a bad patch in the middle of their season or at some point in their season. So, and it's all different times, it's all different years, parts of the season that you're experiencing these types of situations. You would hope that, maybe we could have played a little better in the first 2 minutes of that overtime at Washington. Maybe that would have stopped, quote unquote, stop the bleeding. And then, we could find our winning ways again. And unfortunately it didn't happen. And, we give another opportunity this week. And, so how do we handle failure? We've been tested right now. I think, this is obviously a big week for us, and it'd be interesting to see how we collectively respond tomorrow night.
Noah?
Coach, you talked about the ups and downs. This is your 8th year at ASU, and you've had those kinds of experiences, in with your past teams, and how, things have been really, really good at times, and then you get the dip. What have you learned from those times that you can now apply now? And has that sort of been implemented in your conversations with your players, with the team?
Yeah, I was just in DFA, and I was staring up at the rafters, and I wasn't seeing many banners up there. So historically, that hasn't happened. I'm fighting for it. I'm going after it. I think it's too early to judge how we're going to finish the rest of the season. We've certainly went from 15-3, feeling like we were getting close to the top of the mountain, to 15-7 now. So we'll see what happens over the last 9 games before we judge how we finish seasons here. But I will say that there were a couple of years that we finished extremely strong, including last year and the COVID year. They canceled the season. So it's hard to just say this is how we do it here. So I'm not really going to go into that. If that's how you guys think or want to handle what our season looks like, then go right ahead.
Ode?
Bobby, when you have such a spark plug off the bench like Austin Nunez, and when you give him a chance to start, it looks like the level of play is still pretty high. Is it kind of hard as a head coach to really kind of balance? Do you want to bring a guy like that off the bench, or maybe give him a more expanded role as a starter?
Well, he's right now where we stand. We won a lot of games with the group that started. The DJ, we had his thing, and it's over, and he'll be back in the lineup, and that's where we're going right now. Austin has had a great season, and he's exceeded expectations for what freshmen are really doing at this level of college basketball. There aren't many that are huge impact guys, even in our league. We're going to be playing against one on Thursday with Pope, who's having a great year at Oregon State. But certainly there's, as I talk with Austin, chance for his role to continue to expand and grow, because he's been very productive and plays both ends of the floor. And I've had great, 6 men like Remy as a freshman, or Lonzo Verge. So I've had guys in that role, and, maybe the minutes will increase. We'll just have to see, game to game, how guys are performing.
Michael?
Yeah, Coach, you're talking about Oregon and Oregon State. Obviously, like you said, going through a little slump right now, but having already beat them, I know every game's new and different, but in going into practice this week and the guys getting out of it? Do you feel that's at least an upbeat and like an advantage since you've played both those schools on the road and beat them?
Yeah, I think you nailed it with, every game is different. So I don't really look at it like that. We struggled to win that game, and it was, they played very well. They got good young players. They're going to do some things to test our defense. Just they're a little bit unique with, their forwards being able to step away from the basket and make plays. So, we'll be challenged. And, it didn't help us that we beat the Washingtons here and then we went on the road and couldn't win. So I just kind of look at each game individually and not really read too much into it.
Thanks, Coach.
Chris?
Yeah, Bobby, it seemed like in those games in Washington.
I can't hear Chris. I don't know if he's struggling with
Yeah, I
All
can't
right.
hear him either.
I got you. Go ahead, Chris.
Sorry. Yeah, it seems like in those games in Washington, you guys got the ball to places you want on the floor to be able to get a lot of quality shots that didn't fall inside the arc. So when that's the case and you're not being overly reliant on 3-point shooting or anything, what challenges does that present to you about like what is the best path on the offensive end?
Yeah, it's tough. You're searching, would love to get, high percentage shots. We weren't getting them at Washington. I thought that in the first half, especially, I thought a few guys had open threes that I trust shooting the three, and those weren't going in either. So when you can't put the ball in the basket, it just puts enormous pressure on your defense. And so yeah, both games we were not super efficient. We were better on offense versus Washington State, but and Dez had to kind of shoulder the load at Washington. Not many other guys were really, finding their rhythm on offense.
All right, that's all the time we have today. Thank you, everybody, for joining us, and good luck on Thursday, Coach.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Bobby.